This, I understand, but the thing is, if I turn around and I give a little bit of love and attention, that I could do that, it's gonna become bigger because it's, you understand?
Right, so practically, what you do is you go in your mind, hopefully before you're back in the situation, right? Save yourself future suffering. You go in your mind to that place where it's happened so many times when your mother was after you and you felt that you had to defend yourself. And you feel it. What do you feel in your body when you're in that space? Isolate that. What do you feel? Where does it show up in your body?
It feels like I have no air, like no space.
Like, you know, pressure in the chest maybe, right? Yeah. So you feel that pressure in the chest.
Yeah.
Now, when that sets in, you may usually feel panicky when you're unconscious, right? Yeah. Now we're doing it consciously. That's why we need a lab situation, not one where you're exposed to the person that you always have that reaction with, right? So you feel that tension in the chest, that constriction, and you realize you educate your brain, very important. Say, not a threat or an enemy. Part of me that needs help. Part of me that needs help, right? Because for 1,000,000 times you have reacted to that like a threat or an enemy. And then you only have one way. Whoop, to war. Right? You can only go war or escape. And it's both, you know, hostile. It's a hostile, toxic reaction. And you only have that option. So you have to educate your brain, and your brain is actually going to grow nerve connections now. It's going to change, physically change, and grow neurons that make it possible for that new message to travel until that becomes your normal way of reacting. And that takes a while, right? So the situation arises, you feel like, escape, right? So tell yourself, stop, not a threat, not an enemy, don't have to escape, part of me that needs help. What do? Oh, I go toward it. I give it some love and attention, right? So when you do that one time, now remember, this is one time up against 1,000,000 times the war. Escape scenario, right? So you have to do that a few times before that becomes increasingly automatic. You don't have to do it 1,000,000 times because now you're working with this consciously, right? But you may have to do it a few dozen times when you have the impulse to go that way, right? Stop yourself. That's why it's so good to do it before you're in that situation again, right? Do it in the lab, work with yourself before you go home and face the family again, right? So build that pathway that says, oh, give attention, open attention. You can do that with somebody else. Somebody you always ran away from because they're too much, right? Well, all they want, you know, they're doing this very innocently and unconsciously. Your mother consciously only loves you, but she's too much on top of you because of her unconscious needs, right? So just feed those needs a little bit, and with that, give her some genuine love, and she'll be just like totally happy, and she'll say, my God, what happened? My daughter's just wonderful. And then know your truth about how to move in that relationship. In other words, when she demands that you're moving in with her, and something inside of you says, no, not my truth, you know, then you better don't. Right? And you say, Mom, I love you with all my heart, and I am moving to Miami, or whatever.
But if I'm giving her this little medicine, am I not avoiding her to do her work? Because
honey, that's not your work.
But I'm saying, I'm not.
Your work is to get the situation with your mother out of a warfare that no one can win, into a place where love can again suffuse this relationship. That can only be helpful for her. When and how she finds her work and her way of resolving this pattern, it's not your business. It's between her and God.
Okay.
You cannot live her karma. That's the whole point of cutting this umbilical cord. You see? When you're still merged with the parent in this unconscious way, you are participating in their karma. But it's not yours. You have to separate out of that. You know, you're carrying them on your back like an addiction. It doesn't belong there. You are free. Find that freedom. And if they don't have that freedom yet, it might be extremely helpful for them to see someone who can live in that freedom. Maybe someone who's really close to them. Because they will absorb it, if not consciously, subconsciously. It will just go into them by osmosis. And they'll, somewhere in them, that pattern will set foot that shows them how to reach that place of freedom for themselves. They may or may not be able to travel that road this life. But once they see it, that information has been received. You know, and we don't know. It's not our business to say when that should blossom. Yeah. And we need to know also in cases where you see your parent in not a good shape, that the pattern that your love can infuse into them may blossom in another lifetime. It may not be able to blossom now. If your father's an alcoholic and busy drinking himself to death, he may be so in the grip of that illness that he's past the point of no return. But you can love him as he is. That will go a long way because nobody else does, most likely. You see? With that particular disease. Just as an example. You know, so if he is actually experiencing unconditional love, something inside of him that is not limited to this life will receive that pattern and will be drunk with that, which is incredibly intoxicating, much more so than alcohol. And in a future existence, he may come back to that. So love never becomes, never is wasted. It always leaves its divine trace, pure love, I'm talking about, unconditional love.